Welcome back, everybody, to another episode of DGS. We are in the middle of a final appeal right now, and Mr. Juror 5 has changed his statement to talk about what he was doing on that day of the incident. So, we're gonna pit Mr. Juror 5, I don't even know what I'm doing, with number 3, because he wanted proof as to why he would take the long way around. There's an obvious contradiction between these two claims. Contradiction, you say? Explain, defense.
How can I be the one getting pointed at?
What's your problem? Let's get this over with already.
Why is my 3DS jumping here? Juror 3, if I may.
Yes. What is it?
I believe there was a very important implication buried in Juror 5's statement just now. Let's take the opportunity to study the map once more with those words in mind. On the day of the attack, Soseki-san had made some purchases at this bookshop. And on this day, Meisham Road was being dug up due to construction. In other words, if he were coming home from this used bookshop, the defendant wouldn't have been able to reach the boarding house using this road.
You're right. What do you think, Mr. 5?
Well, I guess that's true. See, we smashed up the bricks that make up the road and made a hole about 2 yards around. 10 out of 10 snobby lords and ladies decided to take the long way around in order to avoid it.
Then, that proves it. If the defendant wanted to return to his boarding house, he would have had no choice but to take the long way.
I suppose he would have.
Do you suppose he would have?
Juror 3, earlier you stated the following. There's no way he could possibly have a reason to take the long way. However, it seems that there was a reason after all.
You're right! Your Honor, if I may,
Yes, what is it?
I was just thinking that perhaps I'd been a little hasty with my decision. I'd like this trial to continue a bit longer. What are you waiting for, Mr. 5?
Huh? Me? Alright, fine. I'm the one who dug up the road. I'm gonna be the one to fill it back in again.
You did it, Naruhodo-sama! That was splendid! Their decisions changed, and that means the situation has changed too. Yes, now the jurors will have to think things over again. Did I really make the right decision? It's incredibly important. If only there were one other clue that might help dispel the doubt surrounding Soseki-sama. Then these decisions that were handed down based on little more than gut feeling could be overturned. You're right. Let's do this. Prosecutor Von Zeeks wants this trial to end here. I have to prevent that at all costs. Now then, the defense may continue its final appeal. Yes, Your Honor. But that's a statement change now. He also changes the statement, but I do not unfortunately have a translation of the updated statements, but it doesn't matter at the moment. This guy!
Huh? Sorry, could you repeat that once more?
Dude, he shouted! I still haven't said anything, but hold it. Do you visit the Raggedy Bookshop?
I find old books at that shop, then bring them home to read while I drink my old tea. That's my daily routine, see? Naturally, I did so that day as well.
The day of the attack. What time was it when you went to the Raggedy Bookshop?
It was late afternoon as I rummaged through the reading materials. I left a tick before 5 p.m. That's my daily routine, see? Naturally, I did so that day as well.
5 p.m., you say? It's right when the attack was happening. Are you sure about the time?
Yes, it's only natural, right? I remember it well. You see, something terrible happened to me that day.
Something terrible?
Calabash Road is a narrow little street, and it was completely iced over. I slipped on the walkway just after it stopped snowing and fell. Knocked out cold I was. I saw my wife in heaven beckoning to me.
One moment, please. Did you say Calabash Road?
Of course! My home is in Cornpipe, right? So the only way for me to get home from the Raggedy Bookshop is to use that narrow street.
Juror 6, please add that comment to your statement. It may be very important.
Huh? Sorry, could you repeat that for me?
I'm beginning to suspect this guy has selective hearing. You've managed to change 2 jurors' decisions so far. Yes, I just need 2 more, right? Let's put all our strength into our next attack and turn this on its head. Maybe I ought to have her teach me how to do a Sato toss sometime. Maybe. Alright, we're gonna pit, funny enough, juror number 2 and juror number 6. Because he's wearing he slipped and fell. And also, if you notice, he's wearing a green coat. She mentioned a green coat also. So let's put these 2 together. There is a clear contradiction between these 2 claims. Contradiction, you say? What do you mean? Do you mind, Juror 2 and Juror 6?
Certainly. What is it?
It seems the older gentleman didn't hear you. I said it as loud as I could. Anyway, one fact is indisputably clear. According to the receipt we have from the used bookshop, on the day of the attack, the defendant purchased some old books at the Raggedy Bookshop, and from there returned to his boarding house.
But he said he doesn't recall the road he used to get home, correct?
Yes, it seems so. All we know is that on his way home, the defendant saw a figure. Of course, the figure was wearing a green coat and lying unconscious in the snow.
Yes! And that figure was a female victim!
Can you really declare that with absolute certainty?
What do you mean?
Did you hear what the elderly gentleman, Juror 6, said? On the evening of the attack, there was one person, besides the victim, wearing a green coat and lying in the street near the scene of the crime.
Ah!
It can't be.
Yes, naturally that person was the hard of hearing, Juror 6, sitting right there.
So then, does that mean the true identity of the green coat-clad figure the defendant saw Was that grinning green grandfather over there?
It certainly seems plenty possible. You see, that old man there has a similar physical build to the victim.
Oh.
Dear Lord.
Huh? What was that? Could you speak up?
Bless you, old man. And the important part is the place where that green coat-clad old man had fallen.
Calabash Road.
If the figure the defendant saw collapse before his eyes was this old man, it would mean that Soseki-san had taken the long way home from the used bookshop that day. And if that's true, then naturally, he couldn't possibly have traveled along Briar Road.
Eek!
Oi, Gramps! What's this about you wandering around in a place like that?
And not only that, but wearing a flashy green coat. Honestly!
What did you say? You got a problem with the elderly wandering around town and slipping and falling? Am I not allowed to wear one of these trendy green coats?
Hold it! If I may, Your Honor.
Do you perhaps intend to alter your decision?
Yes. I will change it to not guilty.
Juror number 2.
And so will I!
Eh?
I do it simply because I feel like being rebellious.
Of course. As a result of the final appeal, there has been a change in the juror's decision. To say guilty for say not guilty. Therefore, the court has not at present achieved a unanimous decision. The trial shall continue. Oh boy. So, are you gonna throw that into the chandelier? Crush it in your hands? Crush it in your hands. Having carelessly sipped from the Lord's chalice after shouting objection in his garden of judgment, and then proceeding to shatter it was most crude of me, and I beg your indulgence for that. Prosecutor Von Zeeks. It seems that I must retract the words I spoke earlier. What do you mean? I cannot in good conscience refer to this assembly of jurors as wise. Not after they allowed themselves to be taken in by flimsy Oriental deception.
Huh?
What's that supposed to mean?
Wasn't deception. All of it was true. It does indeed seem that that giant over there was digging up the hole on the day of the incident. And the bricks composing the streets were indeed ripped up for a distance of 2 yards for the sake of construction.
That's right. They ran me into the ground that day for a measly 5 shillings.
Incidentally, Oriental exchange student, do you know how long 2 yards is? I have a feeling it's actually 2 meters, but hey. Well, to be honest, I have no idea. 2 yards would be... Oh, I guess it is yard in this one. Did Britain use the yard and inches back then? I thought they used a meter system back. I don't... Okay, history, whatever. I'm getting sidetracked here. 2 yards would be just a tad shorter than 2 meters. Shorter than 2 meters? I expected to be more than that. In other words, it is possible to jump over the area that was being excavated. Isn't that right, Giant?
Huh? Well, I guess that's true.
Is it yes or no? My goodness. What? Did your construction workers close off the road you were working on?
No, don't be absurd. With a hole in the road, carriages can't pass through, and the snooty lords and ladies all choose to take the long way around, but the slum kids just jump right over without a care in the world.
As far as I can see, the defendant is neither a lord nor a lady. It's perfectly natural to think that he might have hopped the mere 2 yards and wandered back to his boarding house.
Ah!
Do you suppose?
Consider the fact that the books the defendant had just finished purchasing were scattered about the crime scene. There can be no doubt that he used Briar Road to return to his boarding house. Crap, he's got a point. Also, old man.
Oh, you mean me?
You fell down on Calabash Road at 5 p.m. on the evening of the murder. Was there, at that time, the figure of a suspicious Japanese man behind you?
I'm not sure. I can't say I remember too clearly.
You don't remember? I don't think it would be much of a gamble for me to say. The defense cannot prove that the person the defendant saw was this old man. Ah! Order, order! Lord Von Zeeks, a moment, please. What is it, Your Honor? That is a perfectly lucid rebuttal. However, why? Why did you simply sit by in silence and watch the final appeal take place? I merely wanted to show this exchange student who hasn't yet managed to rid himself of his tourist mentality just how easy it was to sway the jurors' hearts and minds. However, I believe I've had enough entertainment. Oh, the cape is off! I'm afraid that concludes today's London sightseeing defense. What do you mean? Your Honor, the prosecution would like to call its next witnesses into the courtroom. Understood. Bailiff, escort the next witnesses into the courtroom. Next witnesses. Naruhodo-sama, we've been told numerous times that there was an eyewitness to this incident. Yes, I believe we heard that the witness was a Scotland Yard beat officer. The next witness, of course, must be that beat officer. But we have more than one witnesses. No matter what sort of witness shows up with what sort of testimony, I'll keep believing in you, Soseki-san, until the very last moment of this fight. Or is it my 2 favorite ones? Yes, it's these 2. I love these 2. Now then, witnesses, your names and profession. The name's Patrick OMalley. I patrol the city on my beat. Oh, Pat, you are falling asleep on your foot. Oh, on your feet, excuse me. And I'm Lola OMalley. I'm this town's hero's wife. Oh. Is everything alright? Oh, quite. Actually, we just got married. And recently we celebrated our first anniversary. No, that's not what I meant. It's just your husband. It's not unreasonable. Patrolling in London is one of the most noble and yet most taxing professions in the world. Is that right? I feel like I've heard that before. Unless they're off duty, they must travel 20 miles on foot from early morning until late night patrolling the city. They make rounds to doss houses and pubs, collecting taxes, surveying roads, inspecting measuring tools. And on top of that, they also keep the roads clean, light the gas lamps, and put them out again in the morning. Holy shit. There are some awfully random tasks in there that I never would have considered police duties. If I had that job, forget just falling asleep on my feet. I'm pretty sure I'd collapse first. Naturally, a beat officer's most important task is the tracking down and apprehending of criminals. If there is an incident along their route, even if they're not on duty, they must investigate and resolve it. That is simply the nature of London's proud beat officers. Oh, poor Pat! Pato. It says Pato. He looks dead on his feet. On the day of the incident, this couple was walking the opposite direction along Briar Road. And that's when you witnessed the incident. Is that correct, witnesses?
Oh, yes, that's right. Right, dear?
Oh. My name's Patrick OMalley. I patrol the city on my beat. Oh boy.
Very well. In that case, the court will now hear your testimony about the events you witnessed on the night of the attack.
Sir! And we will do that in the next video, because we are now slightly out of time. So, I don't want to start this now since we're short. So, we will start this testimony in the next video. See you guys then.
I was just thinking that perhaps I'd been a little hasty with my decision. I'd like this trial to continue a bit longer. What are you waiting for, Mr. Five?
Huh? Me? Alright, fine. I'm the one who dug up the road. I'm gonna be the one to fill it back in again.
There's an obvious contradiction between these two claims.
Contradiction, you say? Explain, defense.
How can I be the one getting pointed at?
What's your problem? Let's get this over with already.
Why is my 3DS jumping here? Juror 3, if I may.
Yes. What is it?
I believe there was a very important implication buried in Juror 5's statement just now. Let's take the opportunity to study the map once more with those words in mind. Then, that proves it. If the defendant wanted to return to his boarding house, he would have had no choice but to take the long way.
I suppose he would have.
Do you suppose he would have?
Juror 3, earlier you stated the following. There's no way he could possibly have a reason to take the long way. However, it seems that there was a reason after all.
You're right. Your Honor, if I may,
Yes, what is it? On the day of the attack, Soseki-san had made some purchases at this bookshop. And on this day, Maysham Road was being dug up due to construction. In other words, if he were coming home from this used bookshop, the defendant wouldn't have been able to reach the boarding house using this road.
You're right. What do you think, Mr. Five?
Well, I guess that's true. See, we smashed up the bricks that make up the road and made a hole about 2 yards around. 10 out of 10 snobby lords and ladies decided to take the long way around in order to avoid it.
Welcome back, everybody, to another episode of DGS. We are in the middle of a final appeal right now, and Mr. Juror 5 has changed his statement to talk about what he was doing on that day of the incident. So, we're gonna pit Mr. Juror 5, I don't even know what I'm doing, with number 3, because he wanted proof as to why he would take the long way around.